My name is Dawn Quijada. I am the founder of the nonprofit organization Pushing Forward Women's Ministry. I am also the creator of the Facebook page Praying for a Healthy Baby. Today I am here to share with you the testimony behind the birth of my son, Zachariah. So some of you know I was a teen mom. I had 3 children very, very young, and because of that, I had my tubes tied really young. And later in life, I got married and decided that I wanted to have another child, so we elected to get my tubes untied. And during that process, I prayed to God and just, asked Him to bless us with another child. And the time of prayer that I spent with Him, I really felt like He put it in my heart that we were going to have another baby. So I got my tubes untied, and a couple months later, I got pregnant. We were so happy and excited. But unfortunately, at about 6 weeks, I started spotting, and the doctor... I went to the emergency room actually, and the doctor didn't tell me anything there. He just told me that I needed to follow up with my regular OB. So the next day I went to my OB, and he told me that he thought that it was an ectopic pregnancy. He did an ultrasound to confirm. And what that means is instead of the embryo implanting in my uterus, it had implanted in one of my fallopian tubes. And when that happens, it's life-threatening. So he did tell me that we would have to terminate the pregnancy, and that they were going to use a drug called methotrexate. And methotrexate is a medication that stops cell division. So it would stop the embryo from growing. So I was heartbroken and just devastated, kind of confused, because I really believed that God had put it in my heart that, we were going to have another baby. So a couple months went past, and I got pregnant again, and this time they monitored my HCG levels. So HCG, in case you don't know, is a hormone that is produced in your body when you're pregnant. And typically when a normal pregnancy, that hormone level increases, it doubles. I believe it's every 24 to 72 hours, or 48 to 72 hours, it's supposed to double. And so they were monitoring that, and everything was going great. My levels were doubling as they should, and the doctor told me that he believed that it was a healthy pregnancy, but we would have to do an ultrasound to confirm. And I had a couple more days, before that they were going to do an ultrasound. Well, the night that he told me that he believed it was a healthy pregnancy, I woke up in excruciating pain. My left side was hurting so bad that I could hardly breathe. So we rushed to the emergency room, and they did an ultrasound and discovered it was another ectopic pregnancy. But this time, it was about to rupture. And they told me I had to have emergency surgery or I was going to die. So they whisked me back. I had the surgery, and I just woke up feeling just heartbroken and defeated, and there's just so many emotions that went along with that. And but some kind of way I was still believing that God was going to make this next child happen for me. I did allow myself to grieve, and a couple weeks passed, and I got back on the journey. Start looking for ways that I could have another baby that wasn't going to be life-threatening to me. And one of the options was IVF, which stands for in vitro fertilization. And for those of you who have experienced this or know what IVF is, that it's like the cost of that is like $20,000 plus usually. And we didn't have that kind of money, but I looked anyway. I was like, God's gonna make a way, some kind of way. So I was looking, and I discovered that at that time the military would do IVF for a portion of the cost of regular facilities. And so my husband was active duty military, and we were stationed in Connecticut. So the closest big hospital to us, military hospital to us, was Walter Reed, which is about 5.5 hours away. So I contacted them, and they told me that there was a 6 month to 2 year waiting list. And I was just like, oh man, But I still followed through and scheduled an appointment for the orientation. I went to the orientation the following month. I drove 5.5 hours in the middle of the night by myself, parked in the hospital garage, and just waited for the clinic I was going to open. And while I was there, they told me that a spot had miraculously opened up and I wasn't going to have to wait 6 months or 2 years, that I was going to be able to do IVF the very next month. And it was only going to cost $4,000. When I tell you I was excited, I was just, there's no words. And at that moment, I knew that God, this was God. It was all God. God was making a way for us to have another baby. So I went home and went back to work. And as I was prepping, for this cycle and procedure, I remember telling my coworker, it's like, I'm going to be pregnant next month. I was just so sure. And she looked at me and she was like, it's not guaranteed. How do you know that it's going to be successful? And I said, because God told me. I said, I am trusting and believing. I am speaking life into the situation that it is going to happen for us. And it was successful. 9 months later, my son Zachariah was born. 9 pounds, as healthy as can be, and he is 15 years old now. So that's my testimony. And with my testimony, I have a couple of scriptures that I just wanted to share. And so, excuse me as I look away from the screen at my computer. So the first scripture that I want to share is 2 Corinthians 5:7. Paul wrote, we walk by faith and not by sight. And I believe that that is a true testament to my journey, because after having 2 ectopic pregnancies and almost dying, I had no reason to believe that I would have another child, but I did believe. Regardless of what it looked like, I kept believing. Another key scripture that I'd like to bring up pertaining to faith is 1 John 5 verses 14 and 15. The New International Version reads, "This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us. And if we know He hears us, whatever we ask, we know we have what we've asked of Him." So what that means is, whatever we ask according to His will, not our will, whatever we ask according to God's will be granted to us. And a lot of times we ask for things that are not a part of God's will for our life. And then we get mad or allow our faith to be shaken because we didn't get what we asked for. And that's just not the way it's supposed to be. We just, need to always trust and believe, that God has the best interest, for us. And unfortunately, we don't always know what God's will is for our life. But the wonderful thing is, as we draw closer to Him, our will begins to align with His will for our life. And we start to desire the things that He desires for us. So, and that brings me to my final scripture that I want to share. The final scripture that I would like to share is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. And the New International Version reads, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." So what that means is, regardless of the situation, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, we need to trust God. We don't often know why things happen in our lives, but we need to trust and believe that God is in control and He has the perfect plan for us. So, and I know trusting and believing isn't always easy, but when we do trust and believe, God always makes a way for us. Now, that way might not be what we want or what we expect, but He always makes a way. So that's the takeaway of my testimony and my message today is God will always make a way. Just trust Him.